Okay, so just hired a Yamaha FZS 150 for 500 rupees, so about £3.50, something like that. It has just started chucking it down though, which isn't great. You did give me one before this, but I didn't like the clutch on it. It felt really, bite point was really weird on it, so you just gave me this one instead for the same price. So this is the FZS rather than the FZ. I don't really know what the difference between the FZ and the FZ8 is, to be honest. I tried to do a little bit of research and couldn't really find anything conclusive. From what I can gather, it's basically just aesthetics. There's no real difference in terms of the chassis, the suspension, the brakes, the engine, it's all the same. So I think it's just an aesthetic thing. And even then they look very, very similar. I barely tell them apart. Yeah, full on the throttle there, nothing. And it's dying on me. And it's died. It's not good. There's definitely fuel in it because I had a look. Oh, and actually no, we didn't check this one, did we? Let's have a quick look. Yeah, no fuel in this one either. Oh well, we're gonna have to walk. Might only cost 500 rupees to rent, but it's probably costing me more just in calories pushing this thing up the hill. Right, we got some fuel. Man, I'm sweating after that. Pushing this thing up the hill. It's not too heavy. I mean, it probably weighs about 140 kilos, I think. At least when it hasn't got any fuel in it. Probably about 150 when it's got fuel. But again, though, literally just ridden it from the rental shop to the petrol station, and there wasn't even enough fucking fuel in it to get to the petrol station. Why? Why would you do that? And again, why would you not bother telling me? Okay, fair enough, I probably should have learned from the first time that you should just check the tank every time. I mean, what they do, obviously, is they rent it out to you at a cheap price. Tourist fills the tank up right to the top, they ride it around for half an hour and then take it back, and they get like 10 litres of free fuel, which they can then just drain out and use in their other bikes. So, but still, you know, at least put a little bit of fuel just to get me to the fuel station. The fuel station is literally 1 mile up the road. You didn't put 1 mile's worth of fucking fuel in the bike. Ugh. So, I wasn't planning on going to the gym today, but that's probably my bit of cardio for the day. So, we're going to go to the little twisty road of doom again. And see what's what with this thing. Oh no, this is the wrong turn. I'd say it's probably a slightly stiffer ride than the Pulsars, but hopefully that means it'll be a little bit more sporty in the bends. But yeah, definitely a bit more bumpy. Ooh. But then this bike's not in great shape, I have to say. Like, when you slam the front brake on, you get a click through the front, so that's the front bearings gone. It does feel like quite a chunky bike. I mean, it is like the forks are probably what, like 43mm forks or something, which is, you know, pretty chunky for a bike this size. But, and again, it's got a big fat 140 section rear tyre, and you know, this big wide tank, and you just, you know, it looks cool, but you just think, is all this extra size really needed on a 150cc bike, you know? It's not really a guarantee that it's going to make it any better dynamically. I would argue, in some ways, a bike like this, smaller, thinner tyres are going to be better on the turning, better for fuel economy, better for wear, and just better in its overall manoeuvrability, I would say, really. So the front brake's pretty good. Back brakes, pretty standard, like all back brakes really. Coming through. Okay, so here we are on the little twisty road of doom again. I'm going to try and go for an overtake. Oh yeah, this bike definitely feels a bit more twitchy on the bumps. Don't like the noise it makes. It just sounds like a sewing machine. Just it's not really an involving noise. Yeah, it does skip around a lot. I think it's definitely because it's a bit stiffer suspension and stiffer chassis generally. There's less flex. Yeah, backsliding out a little bit there. Not even going that quickly. The tyres are actually in reasonably good shape. They look, they've got a decent amount of tread on them. They're in a good shape generally. So I think it's just the slightly stiffer setup of this bike compared to something like the Pulsar. And here, like every time I go over a little lump, back tyre comes off, back wheel's coming off the ground a little bit and spinning up the tyre a tiny bit. But on the smooth bits, it feels really solid. I've got to be careful because it is raining a little bit. There's the road to Peace Stupa. Big accident there yesterday, paragliding accident. Nepali and Chinese both killed, sadly. But yeah, weather's not been brilliant, as you can tell. It's been raining last few days here. So it feels quite nice. It's a comfy position on this bike. The bars are a good position. Feet are in a nice position for the gear lever and the brake. I tend to cover the back brake a lot, so it's definitely sliding out a little bit. The speedo's okay, although I have to say at the moment it's not actually working. The rev counter's working, but it's very difficult to see. Not as easy as like the Pulsar or the KTM even. Again, it could just be this higher bike, but it does feel a little bit sluggish in the lower revs. It might just be the gearing. Apparently this has a top speed of about 125 kilometers an hour, which is about the same sort of speed I was getting from the 220 Pulsar the other day. So either that's a bit optimistic or it's kind of geared more for higher speed, because at the moment it doesn't feel overwhelmingly fast. I would actually say that I was probably as quick on the RX the other day. Oh, big slide. Yeah, this is really not liking these bumps. You can hear it just throttle chopping in and out. That's not the throttle response, that's just the tyre skipping around. There is a bit of power there, but you really have to rev it out, and by the time it gets there, it's bang, slam on the brakes, change down a gear and take the corner. You just don't really have enough time to rev it out on a road like this. And again, sliding around the back. Well, the switch gear feels quite nice, like the brake lever feels really good, clutch lever feels good. I think this is probably the wrong sort of road for this. I think on a nice smooth road with, oof, big slide. That was a bit of front sliding there as well. You hear that bit of chatter from the front wheels then. Front wheel even. Wheels? Come on, brain. But this is the problem. They've kind of tried to make it look and feel like a big bike, but it isn't. It's 150cc. You know, it's a cool looking bike though. I really like the look of it, and yeah, it feels nice to sit on, feels nice to ride on these sort of corners. Here we go. This is, again, just skipping all over the place. And again, And I don't know if I can attribute this to the tyre, just to the tyres, because these are the same tyres that the Pulsar had, the Dunlop nylon tyres. Only these are actually in probably better shape, but it's a bigger profile on the back. And I think it's a combination of the stiffer chassis and the bigger tyre on the back that just means it struggles a little bit on these bumpy corners. Yeah, see, I just don't have the power. He's all very well in waving me past, but see, I just didn't have the power then to get the right line. Oh, I don't want to go down there. That's a long way down. Oh, again, skipping around. See, I rode one of these in Kathmandu. Just briefly, just sort of, you know, down the street and back, and it felt alright, you know, just pulling around town on. And, you know, it's a good bike, but I think just on these sort of bumpy, twisty roads, it's quite hard work. And it shouldn't be, you know, because that's the irony. They've given it all this nice stiff suspension, nice chassis, nice wheels, brakes. But again, it was like I was saying earlier, that doesn't necessarily guarantee you better dynamics. Sometimes you just need to keep it simple. Oh, now I've got to get past this bloody Dio. There we go. Oh, big slide again. I suppose it's quite exciting in a way, having it move around and slide around. It's certainly good fun. Oh, throttle cutting out a bit there. And again, look, doing nothing. I don't think this bike's in probably the best shape, to be fair. I think it needs a good all-round service. It needs some new bearings. The suspension, I don't know if it's just the way it's set up, but I personally would make it a fair bit softer. I don't think there's any sort of adjustability on it, but you must be able to adjust the spring rate a little bit. Oh. You know what, I'm pretty much done with this. I'm going to turn around down here and we're going to head back. Oh, see, he's just really sluggish. See, on the fast sort of sweepy corners, it feels quite nice because it feels quite solid and stable. But to be fair, this probably isn't the best test for this bike on this road, I don't think. But then what is, you know, because this is pretty typical of the sort of roads you get around here. So again, choppy throttle, man. I think this bike just needs a good service. It's a Gladiator, is it? Yeah, Yamaha Gladiator, I think that is. Brakes are good, I'll give it that. Front brakes have got quite a nice feel to them. It brakes well, it's nice and stable under braking. I must say downhill actually feels a little bit better. It's still very twitchy. Mind you, for 500 rupees, you know, £3.50 or whatever, can't go wrong really. Oh, big slide. Jesus Christ. It's really bumpy. God, it always sucks me in that corner. Just... and skipping around. Don't get me wrong, yeah, it's a bumpy road. All bikes are going to be jumping around a little bit on this road, but this feels especially twitchy. Oh, there we go. Overall, a little underwhelming, to be honest. I was kind of looking forward to riding this bike, sort of properly. I'd ridden one briefly, but I don't know. I think on these roads, there's probably better bikes out there. It looks cool, you know. It's got a nice stance to it. It looks nice and, you know, nice and low and nice and sporty, but. Now, if there's a 220 or 250 version, then, well, that might be a bit better, I think. But as it happens, I don't think this bike has enough power for the sort of chassis and brakes that it has. I think it needs a bigger engine and some smoother roads. See, this scooter in front's got like a wonky wheel. What is it? It's a Honda Dio. It's an older Dio, I think. They call it the Honda Dio after Ronnie James Dio, who used to ride one of those, and he liked it so much that they named it after him. That's a true story. I suppose I should be careful what I say about this bike, really, because a friend of mine, a Nepali friend of mine who lives in the UK, in the same city as me, he's got one of these. And let's go this way. And he's not going in the UK. It's still in Kathmandu with his family, and yeah, he loves it to bits. It's his bike, so. And probably not badmouth it too much. But no, it's a good bike, you know. I just think in that particular situation on that road, not so good. But certainly it feels a bit more quality than the Pulsar, you know. It feels a bit more solid. Like the suspension and the chassis setup's undoubtedly a much more sophisticated setup. I just think it's a little bit stiff for these roads. But I'm sure you could adjust that a little bit, you know. Oh, Mr. Gear there. It's really comfy though. It's definitely more comfy than the Pulsar. So what do we get next? Do we go for something a bit more powerful? Or do we go for something a little bit smaller and a bit more nimble? What to get, what to get? Fortunately you're quite limited because there's only a certain amount of bikes around here. Mostly all Pulsars, but what I'd really like is a Honda Splendor, but I've not seen any for rent. So yeah, I'm taking it back. I'm done with this.